I'm so glad you're here with us today. We're diving deep into A Course in Miracles, and if you're just joining our community, you might be wondering what this course is all about. I'd love to invite you to check out the very first video on this channel, where I break down exactly what A Course in Miracles is, how it came to exist, and why it's been transforming lives for over 5 decades. It'll give you the perfect foundation for everything we explore together here. Now, let me ask you, something that might sound strange at first. What if the world you're looking at right now isn't actually real? Not in some philosophical, abstract way, but in a very practical, immediate sense. What if everything you're seeing, the problems, the conflicts, the scarcity, the threats, what if none of that is what's actually there? What if you've been living in a distorted version of reality, seeing everything through a filter so thick that you've mistaken the filter for the world itself? Most of us go through life assuming that what we see is simply what is. We look at a difficult person and think, that's just how he is. We look at our circumstances and think, this is just reality. We look at the world's problems and think, this is just the way things are. But A Course in Miracles makes a radical claim. You're not seeing reality at all. You're seeing a projection of your own guilt, fear, and judgment. And that projection is so convincing, so consistent, so universally agreed upon, that we've all accepted it as truth. Today we're exploring Section 7 of Chapter 13, titled Attainment of the Real World. And this might be one of the most hopeful, liberating concepts in the entire course. Because the course isn't asking you to escape this world or transcend it or wait until you die to experience something better. It's telling you that there's another world, a real world, available to you right here, right now. And the only thing standing between you and that world is your willingness to see differently. Think about your life for a moment. How much of what troubles you is actually based on what's happening right now, and how much is based on interpretation, on story, on meaning you've assigned? Someone says something, and you immediately know what it means about you, about them, about your relationship. Something happens at work, and you instantly understand what it means about your future, your worth, your security. But what if all those meanings, all those interpretations, are coming from a guilty mind trying to prove its own narrative? The real world isn't a place you travel to. It's not a reward you earn after years of spiritual practice. It's not somewhere out there waiting for you to become good enough to enter. The real world is here, overlaid on top of the world you're currently seeing, waiting for you to remove the veil of guilt that's been obscuring it. It's like you've been wearing dark, distorted glasses your entire life, and you've forgotten you're wearing them. The real world is what you see when you finally take them off. But here's what makes this so challenging and so beautiful. You can't attain the real world through effort or willpower or spiritual achievement. You can't force your way into it. The real world is attained through release, through letting go, through the gentle practice of forgiveness. Every grievance you release, every judgment you surrender, every attack thought you decline to believe, each one clears. Your vision just a little bit more. And gradually, naturally, inevitably, the real world begins to dawn on you. This isn't about creating something new. It's about uncovering what's been there all along. The real world has been here the entire time, waiting patiently for you to be ready to see it. And the moment you're willing to question your guilty perception, willing to consider that maybe what you're seeing isn't the whole truth, that moment marks the beginning of your journey home. We post new content every day, walking through the course together, section by section, applying these profound teachings to everyday life. And today, we're exploring what might be the most transformative promise the Course makes, that you can live in a completely different world without changing a single external circumstance. You just have to be willing to see with different eyes. So let's discover together what the real world actually is, how we've been missing it, and most importantly, how we find our way there. Because this isn't just beautiful philosophy. This is your invitation to experience life in a way you never thought possible. Here's the truth that changes everything. There are two completely different worlds available to your awareness right now. Not two physical locations, but two entirely different ways of perceiving the same reality. The Course calls one the world of perception and the other the real world. And understanding the difference between them is the key to everything. The world you're currently seeing, the one that most of us accept as reality, is actually the ego's world. It's a world built on guilt, and guilt works like a lens that distorts absolutely everything you look at. Think of it like wearing glasses with a specific tint. After a while, you forget you're wearing them, and you start believing that the tint is the actual color of the world. That's what guilt does to your perception. In the ego's world, everything is fragmented. You see yourself as separate from others, isolated in your own experience, fundamentally alone. In this world, there's never enough. Not enough love, not enough security, not enough time, not enough resources. Scarcity is the operating principle. And because everyone is separate and resources are limited, attack becomes necessary. You have to protect what's yours. You have to defend yourself. You have to compete, compare, and constantly be on guard. Look at how you move through your day. How often do you feel like you're in competition with others, even people you love? How often do you scan for threats, interpret neutral situations as potentially dangerous, or assume the worst about someone's intentions? That's not paranoia. That's the ego's world functioning exactly as designed. It's a world where attack and defense are rational responses to a hostile universe. But here's what the Course reveals. None of that is actually real. It's not that those experiences aren't happening, they are. But they're happening in a world created by guilt, sustained by guilt, and requiring guilt to continue existing. It's a shared hallucination so consistent that we've all agreed to call it reality. The real world is completely different. It's not a fantasy or a distant heaven. It's literally here, now, occupying the same space as the ego's world, but perceived through entirely different eyes. In the real world, everything is innocent. Not because we're pretending evil doesn't exist, but because we're finally seeing past the distortion of guilt to what's actually there. In the real world, separation is recognized as impossible. You see that you're connected to everyone and everything at the deepest level. There's no scarcity because wholeness is recognized. There's no need for attack because there's nothing to defend against. There's no need for defense because nothing real can be threatened. It's a world of peace, unity, and absolute safety, not because external circumstances have changed, but because perception has been corrected. Think about a moment in your life when you experienced unexpected peace. Maybe you were in nature or with someone you love, or in a moment of deep stillness. In that moment, didn't the world look different? Didn't your problems seem less urgent, your fears less convincing, your grievances less important? That's a glimpse of the real world breaking through. The reason we can't see the real world with guilty eyes is simple. Guilt demands punishment, and the real world contains none. Guilt needs separation, and the real world is unified. Guilt requires attack and defense, and the real world knows only innocence. You literally cannot perceive the real world while holding on to guilt, because guilt and the real world occupy completely different frequencies of awareness. This is why the Course is so insistent about forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't a moral virtue you practice to be a good person. Forgiveness is the mechanism that removes guilt. And when guilt is removed, even just a little bit, the real world begins to come into focus. It's not that you create the real world through forgiveness. It's that forgiveness clears away what was blocking your ability to see what's been there all along. So we've seen the two worlds, the ego's distorted perception and the real world that's waiting to be recognized. Now comes the practical question. How do you get from one to the other? How do you cross from the world of guilt and attack to the world of innocence and peace? The Course gives us a clear answer. Forgiveness is the bridge. But let's be very clear about what we're talking about. This isn't the kind of forgiveness where you grit your teeth and force yourself to be nice to people who've hurt you. This isn't about suppressing your anger or pretending everything is fine when it's not. The forgiveness that leads to the real world is something entirely different. It's the recognition that what you thought happened in guilt's world has no power to change what's real. Here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to forgive everything at once. You don't have to wake up tomorrow morning with perfect vision and complete clarity. The journey to the real world happens one forgiveness at a time, one grievance released, one judgment surrendered. Think of it like cleaning a dirty window. You don't have to clean the entire thing in one wipe. Each small area you clear lets in a little more light. Every person you hold a grievance against is a block in your vision. Every situation you refuse to release is a veil between you and the real world. And here's what makes this so powerful. When you forgive even one person, when you release even one grievance, you don't just free that person, you free yourself. You remove one more layer of distortion. You take one step closer to seeing what's actually there. This is where most people get overwhelmed. They look at the accumulated grievances of a lifetime, all the hurts, all the betrayals, all the disappointments, and they think, this is impossible, there's too much, I'll never get through it all. And that's exactly when the Course reminds us, you don't have to do this alone. The Holy Spirit, the voice for truth within you, is your guide on this journey. This isn't some external deity you have to beg for help. The Holy Spirit is the part of your mind that never forgot the real world, that never bought into the ego's lies, that's been patiently waiting for you to ask for help. And here's the incredible part. The Holy Spirit knows exactly which grievances to address and in what order. You don't have to figure this out. You just have to be willing. Your job isn't to forcibly forgive everyone and everything. Your job is simply to be willing to see differently, to say, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this person really is. I don't know what this situation is truly for. Holy Spirit, show me. That willingness, that tiny opening, is all that's needed. The Holy Spirit does the rest. And this is where the transformation becomes exponential. Each act of forgiveness doesn't just remove one block, it weakens the entire structure of guilt. It's like pulling one card from a house of cards. At first, it seems like nothing's happening. But as you keep going, as you keep choosing forgiveness over grievance, something shifts. The whole structure of the ego's world begins to wobble. Small shifts in perception create massive transformation. You forgive your difficult coworker, and suddenly you notice you're less reactive at home. You release an old resentment toward a family member, and you discover you're sleeping better. You stop attacking yourself for past mistakes, and you find you have more compassion for others. These aren't coincidences. They're evidence that your vision is clearing, that you're seeing more of the real world. The bridge of forgiveness isn't a single dramatic crossing. It's a series of small, gentle steps, each one taking you further from illusion and closer to truth. Each one removing another layer of guilt. Each one allowing more of the real world to come into focus. And here's the promise. You can't fail at this. You can't take a wrong step. Because the Holy Spirit is guiding you, and the destination is guaranteed. The only question is how long you want to delay. The real world is waiting. The bridge is here. All you need is the willingness to take the next step. Now we arrive at the question everyone wants. Answered, what does life actually look like when you're seeing the real world? What changes when your vision clears? Does everything suddenly become perfect? Do your problems disappear? Do difficult people magically transform? The answer might surprise you because it's both simpler and more profound than you might expect. First, let's be absolutely clear. The real world isn't somewhere else. It's not a future destination or an alternate dimension. The real world is here, now, in the same place. You're standing, involving the same people, the same circumstances, the same daily life. What changes isn't your external reality. What changes is how you see it. And that change in vision changes absolutely everything. When you're seeing through guiltless eyes, the first thing you notice is peace. Not the kind of peace that depends on everything going your way. Not the fragile peace that shatters the moment something unexpected happens. This is a peace that doesn't make sense to the world, ACIM. Peace that exists regardless of circumstances. You might still face challenges, but they no longer have the power to disturb your fundamental sense of being okay. Think about how much of your suffering comes not from what's happening, but from your interpretation of what's happening. Someone criticizes you, and you spiral into self-doubt. Someone succeeds, and you feel diminished. Something doesn't go as planned, and you panic about the future. But in the real world, those interpretations lose their grip. You see the criticism for what it is. Just words, just someone else's perception, powerless to change what you truly are. You see another's success without comparison, without that painful contraction of envy. You face uncertainty without that crushing weight of fear. Here's what's extraordinary. In the real world, you stop being a victim of circumstances. Not because you control everything, you don't. But because you recognize that your peace doesn't depend on controlling anything. You're no longer at the mercy of what people think, what situations unfold, what outcomes occur. Your well-being comes from a source that can't be touched by the world of form, and relationships transform completely. When you're not seeing through guilt, you stop projecting your fears onto others. You stop making them responsible for your happiness or your pain. You see people as they truly are, not as threats, not as saviors, not as objects to meet your needs, but as innocent expressions of the same source you are. And in that recognition, genuine connection becomes possible for the first time. This doesn't mean you become passive or detached. Actually, the opposite happens. You become more present, more engaged, more responsive to what's genuinely needed in each moment. But you're responding from clarity instead of reacting from fear. You're giving from abundance instead of grasping from scarcity. You're acting from love instead of defending against attack. Now, here's something. crucial the Course teaches. The real world isn't the final destination. It's the last step before heaven. The real world is still within the realm of perception. It's corrected perception, healed perception, but perception nonetheless. Heaven is knowledge, direct awareness of truth without any perception at all. But we can't jump straight from the ego's world to heaven. We need this intermediate step, this bridge world where we learn to see truly before we're ready to be what we are. But don't let that make the real world seem like a halfway point you should rush through. Living in the real world is itself a profound transformation. It's the end of suffering. It's the experience of consistent peace. It's life as it was meant to be lived, awake, aware, aligned with truth. So how do you choose the real world today? It's simpler than you think. In this moment, with whatever situation you're facing, whatever person you're dealing with, whatever feeling you're experiencing, pause. Ask yourself, am I seeing this through guilt or through innocence? Am I perceiving attack or am I recognizing a call for love? That's it. That simple choice, made consistently, changes everything. The real world awaits nothing but your willingness to see it. So here we are, at the completion of this exploration into attainment of the real world. But this isn't just information you've received. This is an invitation to a completely different way of living, available to you right now. I have great news for you. Starting on the first day of 2026, I will begin the workbook, and you are my guest of honor. The textbook we are studying will continue as normal, but in addition to it, we will also have exercises so that you can experience the transformation that the Course offers. The workbook will re-educate your mind and change your perception. Each lesson is simple and takes only a few minutes a day and can completely change the way you see yourself and the world around you. I would very much like you to follow the lessons because this is where the true transformation happens. Let's bring it all together. We've explored the two worlds, the ego's distorted perception built on guilt and the real world of innocence that's been here all along. We've discovered that forgiveness is the bridge between them, a gentle journey taken one step at a time with the Holy Spirit as our guide. And we've seen what life looks like when vision clears, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, relationships transformed by innocence, and the end of suffering through corrected perception. The real world isn't a reward for being spiritual enough. It's not something you have to earn or achieve. It's simply what you see when you stop looking through the filter of guilt. Every grievance you release, every judgment you surrender, every moment you choose to see innocence instead of attack, each one brings the real world into sharper focus. And here's the beautiful truth. You're not starting from scratch. You've already had glimpses of the real world, those moments of unexpected peace, those instances when love seemed more real than fear, those experiences when everything just felt right. Those weren't flukes. Those were moments when the veil lifted just enough for you to see what's always been there. This is practical spirituality at its finest. You don't have to change your life circumstances to experience the real world. You don't have to leave your job, end your relationships, or move to a mountaintop. You just have to be willing to see the life you already have through different eyes. And that willingness, that simple openness to seeing differently, is the beginning of everything. I'm so grateful you joined us today for this journey into one of the Course's most transformative teachings. The concept of the real world isn't just beautiful philosophy. It's your roadmap home. It's the promise that peace is possible, that suffering can end, that you can live in this world without being tormented by it. If this resonated with you, If something shifted as you listened, please hit that like button. It helps more people discover these teachings, and it lets me know that this content is serving you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We're posting new insights from A Course in Miracles every single day, walking through the text, the workbook, and the manual for teachers together. This community is growing into something truly special, a space where we support each other in seeing truly. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You know, someone who's exhausted from the ego's world, someone who's tired of the constant attack and defense, someone who's ready to see life differently. This message might be exactly what opens the door for them. And please leave a comment below. Tell me, have you ever had a glimpse of the real world? What would change in your life if you could see through guiltless eyes consistently? What grievance are you ready to release? I read every comment, and your insights often inspire future content. We're all learning together, helping each other remember what we've forgotten. The real world is waiting for you. Not someday. Not when you're more spiritual or more healed or more worthy. Right now, this moment, all it requires is your willingness to see differently. And that willingness is enough. It's always been enough. Thank you for being here. I'll see you tomorrow with another exploration from the Course. Until then, choose forgiveness. Choose innocence. Choose to see the real world that's been here all along.